Hi, welcome to Above Life channel. We're going to have our weekly Sunday morning coffee conversation. Let me just check my audio. Good morning. Welcome in on this Sunday or whatever other day you're watching this video. Let's see. Hey, good morning.
Vaping didn't take up much space.
Hi. Welcome in. Grab your coffee, your tea, your green smoothie. Hi. Okay. All right. Hi, good morning. Today's topic is about when should you share psychic information? Sharing of psychic information is a very tricky, sticky topic because there are lots of different questions that come up here. This is about ethics, this is about boundaries, and also it's about figuring out that you're psychic is very exciting. Okay. So if you're in that space where you're one of those people that is like waking up to your psychic gifts and you're like clairvoyant and you're seeing images and maybe you're channeling and connecting with spirit guides and archangels and maybe even famous people. And it's just so exciting, especially in the beginning. It's very exciting. And then after the high of discovering your psychic gifts, kind of starts to come down, there gets to be this dip energetically. And unless you are in a group for psychic development or you have a mentor that is a psychic that has ethics and boundaries, you might miss some of this stuff. So I want to help you out and give you some insight as to how to navigate this place, because just because you know something doesn't mean you share it. And it's hard not to sometimes, especially when it's something like if you get like a precognition or a premonition or a future event kind of thing, or something that you can't, it's hard to contain or keep to yourself. So you need a really good friend you can talk through with this, or you need a psychic coach, or you need a psychic development group that is reputable. Okay. All the people you see on TikTok or social media aren't just like, how do I say this? It doesn't necessarily mean that practice using your discernment, feel into your body, connect with your body, and let your body tell you. Your body is the double check. Your body is where the discernment piece comes in. And I'm super revved up about this today because I recently shared a video, some of you may have seen it, where I was sitting in my living room and contemplating and writing in my journal, and then I got some information starting to come through. And I have been focusing on my own work, which is what you do when you are a psychic or a medium or a life coach or an energy worker. You focus on your own stuff because you're constantly growing, evolving, expanding your understanding, your wisdom, your knowledge through personal processing. And you need time for that. You have to carve out time for that. You can't just do back-to-back sessions and then just, go eat a pizza and have a glass of wine and everything's fine. It doesn't work like that. You have to be able to process and have a sacred container and have things that you enter into to expand your psychic awareness. And doing your personal work is essential. It's a big deal. Okay. So I was doing my stuff and I got some info and I was like, this is like too big. This is really big. There's a lot of stuff here and there's pieces and parts. And oftentimes when psychic information comes in, it doesn't come in like, here's the book, Here's the book. Here you go. Here you are. The psychic information you get doesn't come in like this. Here you go. Open up to page 7 and begin reading that chapter and read it word for word, verbatim, directly. This is the psychic information. This is how you know it's accurate. It's not like that. It is not like that. It is mysterious. It is up for interpretation, which is why you need to use discernment. And in order to use discernment, you have to practice. You have to be in a place of practicing within your body to know what is in alignment, what truth feels like, what yes, share this feels like, and most importantly, where the motivation is coming from. Where's the motivation to share that? What is that really about? Because 9 times out of 10, it's about you. That first like excitement, rush of energy, it's a supercharged adrenaline rush, and you want to share it. And you're like, oh my gosh, I got to share this. Blah, 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 blah. That is not responsible. That is not an integrity. That is not healthy boundary sharing of psychic information, because psychic information comes with energetics, and it's not responsible to just put that all out there without some kind of sacred container around it, some kind of boundaries, some ethics, some values, some just really understanding of how sharing the information can impact and affect. Because although we as empaths are not responsible for everybody else's energy and how everybody feels, this is not what I'm talking about, okay? We still have, as a professional psychic person that is sharing a forecast or a prediction or some insight, you have got to be in right alignment within yourself, understanding what your personal motives are, what your intention is for sharing that information. And then that creates a container for how you share it, what you say, and the impact that that has on other people, because you are responsible for that. You're responsible for what you say. You are. And Rosie agrees with me, don't you, Rosie? This is a really big deal because recently I recorded a video off the cuff as I was journaling, and I do this a lot, you guys. I just want you to really understand. I want you to know how hard this is for me, especially ever since my open heart surgery, ever since my near-death experience, ever since being in between the worlds. I have this lands different for me now. This isn't some entertainment thing, and it wasn't before. I was very serious about the work I did as a psychic and in private session and as in groups and channeling celebrities and what the intent was. Very clear on that, very clear, okay? But now the state of the world affairs and the way that we are so empathic and so connected and so desiring deeper connection, it leaves a lot of vulnerabilities without boundaries and ethics coming in and knowing what you're taking in. It's like knowing the ingredients in your food. It's like that kind of thing. And people can present themselves and speak with conviction and seem very reputable and may be very reputable, but that information is not for you at the time. And you, as the receiver, have to be responsible for what you're taking in also. It's just like any other form of media. It really, really is, because there's an energetic component and it affects you so deeply. It affects me so deeply. So I received some information and I was like, okay, I receive information all the time. And sometimes I record it. Sometimes I do audios for it. Sometimes I will do a video and I'll send it to one of my psychic friends and say, okay, I just have to share this. It's like I'm cataloging this for future because I want to track this to see what this was really about when it came in 4 months ago. And now stuff is starting to show up. And then I have my psychic friend, she'll say to me, oh, like when stuff happened with our presidential election and with an assassination attempt on one of the candidates here in the United States, that in July that happened, she was like, oh my gosh, you said this and this and this, and this is what this was about. And then I'm like, yeah, wow, wow, this is kind of a thing, right? But knowing it and sharing it are two different things. And while knowing it or receiving the information can feel like heavy or like a burden, it doesn't have to be. And so what happened was is I just recorded what was happening, what it was coming in, and it's when I get psychic information, there's bits and pieces. And if I step back in a couple of days or a week later and I review it or listen to it, I can go back, and even like the next day, I could go back potentially, depending upon energy, how it's shifted or cleared. I can go back and I can go, oh, this is for this. This is about this in the UK. This is about this in the US. This is about this happening. This is about the potential for these three things to happen. So this and this and this. If this happens, this will be. If this happens, this will be. If this happens, this will be. And the potentialities of things, because there's multiple timelines, which we've talked about, which is a way of saying no one person actually knows. Okay. No one person, because no one person can know, because that defeats the point of being able to create your reality, of being able to have free will and make your choices, right? So I recorded a video and I shared it. I was like, I'm going to share this. And I shared it. But I did not go through my own internal check system. And the next day I was like, I just don't know. Is it responsible for me? Is it to just share? These are some things that are coming in part because it could be taken totally out of context and like this gloom and doom and depressing heavy stuff. And while I'm really a truth teller and I like to share what's coming in, and I'm a straight shooter, like I talk. That's so funny. Let's not use those words. I am direct, and I will tell you what I see. And then I will also say, okay, but this is up for interpretation. So the way you receive this isn't necessarily the way I am perceiving it. Because when I see stuff, it comes through my filters, which are my layers of bias, which is my culture, my roles in my life experiences in this lifetime, in this timeline, what I'm aware of, and things that I'm not even aware of. My own personal traits, habits, characteristics are influencing the way I perceive, because I'm human. It has to come through my mind. Okay. And so that too then is something that people who receive, or who are watching YouTube videos or TikToks or whatever, and they're watching psychics doing readings and stuff, it feels like there needs to be a level of awareness brought to the fact that just because I say something doesn't mean it's you don't take it literally. You can't. You can't. So what you do is you put it through your filters and systems. And I have found, especially since this last year of reuniting with my physical body, coming back, choosing to come back into my physical body and be present for life again, to be here after my open heart surgery, I have found that the embodiment piece, my body will tell me. And so it wasn't sitting right with me, because I shared a video and I was like, it may be too soon to share this, or it may be not enough information to share, and I need to do it in a context. You can't just share it and go, because that's not responsible either. So it brought me to think about how the work that I do and how I want to help support you in your empathic development of your intuitive gifts, because you're all intuitive. Everybody is psychic. Everybody is. It is part of the soul part of us. It's part of the spirit part of us. It's part of the energetic part of us. Everybody is psychic. Everybody is intuitive. How you choose to use it, how you interpret it, that's you. That's for you to develop and design on your choice or not. You don't have to. There's no pressure or requirement. Sometimes people feel, I think, a lot of pressure when you start to get psychic information to share it, because why else would you be getting it? It's not about the why of receiving it. It's not about why am I getting this? Why am I? It's not about that. It might just be about the practice of understanding what psychic information is and how easily accessible world events and stuff is. How easily accessible celebrity stuff is. Other people's business is very accessible to you. But you shouldn't be messing with it, is the point. Like, there's boundaries. Do you want somebody doing that with you? That's when you get into the concepts of like psychic, like energy vampires and leaking your energy and people giving you kind of psychic attacks, or it's like the coworker that comes into your cube at work and just blah, 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 just complains, and then you feel like crap after, like you just feel so shitty, like all of a sudden you have like an ulcer, you feel depressed, and before you were fine. It's like that. It's contagious. Like you catch it, right? You catch that ickiness. So it feels like to me, I really wanted to talk about this with you guys because I've been feeling like for some time, I've been asking really hard questions about psychic work, about what's ethical to share. And so what I'm going to give you for advice or advisement, okay, would be before, even though you're so excited, okay, write it in your journal. Create an electronic journal, create a diary on a YouTube channel, but don't publish it. Do something to capture the data. Do audios, do, on your Google Drive, write about it. Do things like that to honor the process and the experiences and to notice the patterns. It's like you're exercising muscles. You don't start by running a marathon. You start by stretching, by learning about the proper ways to walk, run. You start a training program like that. Like you got to create a structure, a container for you to be able to understand what's going on for you. A lot of people, I think, assume like you're anointed. You received this information. It's accessible to you. Therefore, you are charged with sharing it. You're not. You're not. Even if you are a psychic, it's not your responsibility to do that. It feels like it's a big deal, but it's not. It's not your job to necessarily, because you get information. Don't make the mistake of misunderstanding that because you receive information, because you can access something, doesn't mean your job is then to share it with everybody, which can be very difficult, especially if it's an interpersonal communication piece. Like if you're sitting at a hair salon and you get a psychic hit on somebody, or you're doing mediumship stuff and you're pretty good at it now, and you kind of get a sense that somebody's grandmother died and you can kind of feel the energy around that person, you can feel their grief and you would like to help them. Yeah, well, guess what? That's not your job. Your job isn't to help everybody all the time, constantly, because you're so great. Look at you. Oh, you're so chosen because you know this, so therefore you should share it. No, that is not the bar. Just because you have the info doesn't mean you share the info. That is not the bar. That is not what you use for discernment. Okay? It's not that. Everybody has access to psychic information. And your interpretation might be wrong. Your timing might be wrong. So I understand there's an excitement to share it and there's a desire to help somebody, especially if they're grieving or if they're in pain or they've lost a child or they're just in this place and you just want to help them to heal. That's just the compassion energetically. And that's good because you're a sweet person. You care. So then you just emanate heart-based energy. You don't direct it toward them. You feel that connection and you just soften your heart to the compassion energy. You wrap energy around your heart that is pink and compassionate, and you feel that vibration. And if you want to, you can ask an archangel or a spirit guide that you work with, if it is appropriate, that they can help to support that individual in their process through the healing teams. Like you talk to your people and your people talk to their people. That's how it works. You don't have to walk right over and say, oh, let me get in your space. That's not your job. You're not anointed by God to heal every person you know intuitive information about. And who's to say that that's what you're doing, is healing them? That's kind of bold, isn't it? Mm-mm. Mm-mm. Boundaries, people. Boundaries. You can pray. You can talk to your healing team and let your healing team, let the angels, let God, let Source, let Sophia, whatever you believe, Earth, Gaia, energy, energetically nature, to support and love them. Because the truth is you're feeling connected because there's something in you that is unresolved or unhealed, which there is a lot. But there's something that person's pain is bringing to you for you, not for them. And you stepping out, using your psychic abilities to try to give them information to make them feel better, is really you diverting from your own healing process and work. And I'm being very blunt, but it's true. And I've done it too. I have been in that situation. And what you get from that as the person that shares the psychic information is an ego hit. Not an empathic, compassionate, I'm helping as a healer. Mm-mm. Asking permission and getting consent is essential. It is essential. We have to start recognizing that. Like, mind your own damn business. Really? Who are you to decide? Because you're living your life so perfectly? Because you are the Buddha incarnate? And you just, everything's so in harmony in your life that you have so much peace that you should go get involved in this random stranger's life and share that with them, the psychic intel that you got. And partly why you got that was so that you would recognize something within yourself, Miss Psychic Medium Lady, and work it. Just because you get the info, that's not the green light. Okay. So I am going to say the intent for sharing. So when I shared, I didn't go through my process. Like I didn't say, well, that's not totally true. I did do a check, but it still didn't feel right. I asked myself, what is the point of sharing this? Because I've had this whole thing where I don't want to share predictions, forecasts, future stuff that I get, information I get, bits and pieces that I get, because I'm like, I don't want to incite fear, or I don't want to trigger anxiety. I don't want to cause harm. And at the same time, I realized that part of what I need to do is get over myself in regards to that. Like, I'm not responsible for how you interpret information. I get that. But I also feel very, very aware that part of my purpose now is to help teach you, like help you learn and understand about energies and how it impacts you and how it impacts other people. And being empathic is the opening you have to being psychic. It's the gateway for you to be psychic for yourself. And then you use other tools like essential oils and incense and crystals and rocks and journaling and drumming and yoga and singing bowls and card decks for you to help support you in your understanding so that you can use those psychic pieces of information in your personal life to improve your relationships, the way you communicate with people, the way that you show up for others, because you have a softened understanding through compassionate connection from the psychic information, not because you know what's going to happen. So you make decisions based on what you know is going to happen. That's not the point of psychic information. It isn't to have the answers. It is not. So inside, the checks that I go through are, how's this going to benefit? How's this going to help people? Because that's my goal. I want to do that. I want to help. I want to support. I want to teach. I want to help facilitate your growth journey in connection to psychic information, energy, that I want to be able to do that, introduce you to different tools, help give you psychic experiences. That's why we do activations here. That's why we do meditations here. Sometimes on our Monday weekly videos, we do stuff like that. Sometimes I'll channel spirit guides. Sometimes I'll do other things to give you exposure, because the experience with the energy helps you to learn and understand what's a fit for you and what isn't. Like, what's your thing? Is it totem animals? Is it angel work? Is it hands-on healing work? What is your thing, right? At that time. And then it'll broaden it, it'll expand, because it's like college courses, right? Everybody takes the generals, and then you get electives, right? You get things you get to choose, and then you get to focus on a major and maybe a double major or a minor, and then you go and even get advanced training and certifications and all that. That's what this is. It's like that, okay? And so I want that. I want to be able to share with you from my personal experiences and through stories and through experiential learning here, not to be afraid of psychic information, but to understand how to utilize it for your benefit. Because when it benefits you, as you go on your healing journey and you show up in the world as the entrepreneur that you are, as the social worker that you are, as the teacher that you are, as the partner that you are, you then the whole world will benefit. The people around you, it's a ripple effect when you're doing your stuff and you're showing up in authenticity, because you are connected. You have access to that information and you're utilizing it for your benefit, for your continued growth, to get support you need. Maybe it's through nutrition, maybe it's through continuing education, maybe it's through counseling, like that. Okay. It's really to help us be better people. That's what psychic information is about. And to give us an understanding of what's up, so that we understand what we're going through, because we're connected. We're all connected. Why does a major event that happens we're thousands of miles away affect you so personally? Because we're all connected, because there is a deeper connection. Is imperative to be able to freely and to feel more happy and joyful and fulfilled. All right. So I shared, and the feeling that I had was, the intent was to be authentic with you about what happens for me, like what's going on for me when I get information or when I access bigger information. What do I do with that? And so I shared it. I shared it with you. And I said, now you decide. Now you feel into the bits and parts of this, what I've shared with you, and you decide. But it was a very raw video, and I didn't do like the whole teaching thing at the end. And I'm like, I should have, but I was in that space. It was happening, right? It happened right there and then. And I was like, oh, I want to show you how this is and what happens and how serious it can feel. But then I'm like, the next day I really was like, this doesn't feel good, because there's not the teaching component. This isn't a small group. I forget that we're here on Above Life channel on YouTube, and you may have never had private sessions with me. You may have not been, you're not in my mentoring circles, or you aren't a private client. So I don't have the ability to really talk to you and talk through with you what's happening within you for these things. And while, again, I'm not responsible for your feelings about things and your interpretations of things, I am responsible as a psychic and a medium and as a life coach and as an energetic coach, which I've been for 20 years, to lead by example. And so I thought it would be a good opportunity to show you in authenticity what happens, how that happens for me. But the piece that I missed was the teaching piece. And so I took it down. So in the future, if that happens and I record a video like that and I share with you in real time or very real what's happening, like I do here in live streams, I have a teaching component. I have a component for how you process or digest or what to do with this after. And I didn't do that. And so I'm like, that doesn't sit right with me. There needs to be that balance, right? So I am going to caution you too and say that even if you're well-intended, like you want to help that person in the hair salon that, just lost their grandmother or whatever, you really have to drop in to your center of self and find out what the motivation is. What do you get out of it? Ask yourself, what do I personally get out of this? Do I get a high? Do I get an adrenaline hit? Dopamine hit, like, woo, yay, look at me. Do I get an ego rush? Like, look at how good I am. Oh, I'm so good. Oh, I'm right. Oh, I'm accurate. Accuracy and rightness is a major catch for people who are psychic and mediums, because you're going to be wrong because you're human. And being wrong on platforms like YouTube or publicly can, especially if you're like this big famous, like some big famous celebrity type folks, and their stuff's not being edited out. Let's assume that it's not being edited out. Most of the time, it probably is. But they say stuff that's not accurate or doesn't land right or isn't accepted or received right in the moment. There's not a fast turnaround for psychic information. It doesn't work like that, which is why longer term relationships with people is the way that I usually work, right? Which is why I consistently talk to people, which is why I do psychic coaching and mentoring instead of just like a random one-off session, because I feel like there's such an important part here about supporting people that I care about. Like, I want that for you, a structure, boundaries, ethics, empowering you to know, and if you become a professional psychic, that's awesome. Like, I do have clients that are like that now that are amazing. And I have people that used to be clients that are now really good friends because they're just awesome, and I'm like, oh, I'm so lucky. And there's just this really mutual respect for the work that we do and a lot of integrity in that. So the ego part isn't intended and isn't intentional, and it's a natural part of what happens. It is. I mean, I want to be right. I want to be accurate. Of course I do. Because why? I don't want to harm anyone. I want what I do to help, to enhance, to support. And like, my purpose is now, the last year, it has changed to be more of a make sure that I'm like educating, I'm sharing through experience, not because I'm a master. If I was a master, I'd be dead. I'd be an ascended master that y'all be channeling. Okay, I'm very clear on that. I do not know all the things. I don't. And I'm constantly growing, evolving, and getting support from myself. And I want to be able to support you as you're doing those things too. And so YouTube is a great way to do that, to give you kind of a sample and through experience. Experiential learning is a big deal for me. So yeah, so I wanted to share that and talk to you a little bit about, when do you know when you should share and when you shouldn't? So now hopefully you do. You have a sense of that and an understanding of that within yourself. Okay, because usually you're getting the information because everybody has access to it. You have access to it, and you're working your intuition muscle. You're working your psychic gifts. You're experiencing that. And it can be super exciting, and you can just want to share. But there has to be a filtering process. There has to be a respect and recognition for the person that you're sharing it to and with. And a lot of times people will be really excited. They'll be like, oh, tell me. But the truth is they say that, but then some of the feedback you'll get will be like, oh, no, that doesn't make sense. Or, oh, no, because they're not ready to receive that. They're not ready to receive it. So your timing might be way off. Your information might be very accurate, but they will not validate it for you. And then you'll feel worse than you started, because they're not admitting to what's going on, because they just don't know. They're not at a place in their personal healing journey where they can receive the information. It doesn't mean it's wrong. It's just the timing's off. And maybe you're not the person to be delivering the message. Just because you have access to the information doesn't mean you share it. Doesn't mean you share. We're not gossip columnists here. We're not TMZ here. That's not how it works. But for some, on like TikTok or other YouTube channels, that's that. Like, they thrive on that. People will get personal gratification and hits from, and value and worthiness from, sharing psychic information. And I've been there. Like I felt that. I felt that. Oh my gosh, oh cool. Like when something goes really well and I'm like, oh my God, this is awesome. It feels so good. And I feel an ego hit. I do feel that because I'm human and I'm body, heart, soul, and mind, just like you. That's the premise that we work on here in Above Life Channel. So in authenticity, I will share with you, this is what's up. This is what's up. We human. This is why we connecting. And you're psychic too, just like me, but in a different way. Like just because you can do your own makeup or you can fix your own hair doesn't mean you're going to be doing that at the salon for other people or you're going to be the makeup artist in Hollywood, are you? No. Okay. Just because you balance your own checkbook, well, I don't really do that, but you know what I'm saying? Just because you manage your own money doesn't mean you're going to manage it for other people and be an investor, right? It's like that. It's just that understanding, right? The balance. So anyway, I really wanted to talk about this. This feels good. I'm glad I was able to chat with you about it. I haven't even drank my coffee this morning. Oh, I'm going to a car show. That's why I'm so early today. I've been really getting into the old cars and stuff. Really been enjoying that. So going to a car show this afternoon, that'll be fun. And then preparing for that full moon energy. Whoop, whoop. Oh, yes, my friends. Maybe we'll talk about that tomorrow on the live stream, the moon energy and how you tap into it and how it's probably affecting you. And you can always check on astrology. You know, my favorite's Chani, Chani. She's got a podcast. And Molly McCord. She has a podcast too. You can find them on like Apple, iTunes, or you can find them also on YouTube as well. Check out the astrology. Okay. And on TikTok, they're on TikTok too. Check out the astrology and see kind of what's up for you. I'm an Aquarius, FYI, and I'm Aries like rising. So just so you know, I'm an Aquarius. Yes. Oh, yes. So yeah, lots going on for me with this moon. Apparently, I don't know for sure. Like I haven't tapped into it, but I'm feeling some of it. So I hope you're doing well today. I am just juiced up with this energy. I have so much energy and I gotta admit, I like it. And I've literally only had like one cup. I think this is my second cup of coffee today. And this is even like half calf. This is half calf. So I'm definitely feeling charged by the energy. So hi in the chat. I'm going to say hello, good morning in the chat. Oh, Nash, hi. I see some new people in the chat. Hello, Oracle. Welcome. Jen. Or they get mad. Yeah, they could get mad. Hi, Deja. Nice to see you. Hi, Craig. Welcome. I see some people in here we are talking about mentioning our signs. I'm not an astrologer. I am not an astrologer. I have a really good BFF, a psychic BFF that is really into astrology. And she always gives me heads up. She will literally like leave me big, long messages about, oh my gosh, I just need to tell you on Wednesday, like blah, 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 blah. This is what the energy is going to be like this last week. And she was like, make sure, like, you know, I'm like, don't worry, I'll lay low. And she's like, even checked on me on Wednesday. She's like, okay, don't have deep conversations. You were going to be triggered, you know, all this stuff. She's so great. I'm like, she's like my handler, astrologically, my handler. Hey, oh, more people. Hey, Lori, nice to see you. Hi, you guys. Again, astrology resources. Chani, Chani. She's on TikTok. Like I said, you can find them online all over the place. YouTube, and I think she's on Instagram as well. And Molly McCord, also very reputable, very great resources. So, all right, my friends, thank you so much for being here. I hope I've inspired your spirit today with this very kind of deep conversation, but a good one. I think it's a really good one. It's really, I've been doing a lot of contemplation around this topic about how best to, because I want to be able to share with you the oracling work that I do, because I get a lot, I have a lot of access to a lot of like forecasted energy and information, and I don't share it. And I'm feeling like in a safe and sacred container, like maybe a small group scenario, I could really support people in learning about the process of how this all works and developing their own gifts, not necessarily to be practitioners, but for your own lives, for your businesses, for your families, for just your best life, so that you can understand what's happening below the surface and have more compassion for yourself and then others, and not feel like you're doing things wrong, or like other people are like victimizing you. Like there's just a different level of peace that comes, I think, from doing psychic work in a way that is very much an integrity for ourselves, for us as individuals, and then for the planet and for the world as a whole. And so I've really been doing I've been giving this a ton of thought. And I have been writing about it and working on something kind of behind the scenes that I'm just like, I'm not quite sure how it'll all come to fruition, but we'll see. I'm thinking about a small group. So we'll see. I got to do something because I got a lot of energy connected to the Sibyls and to the oracles, and so much info that's coming in for me. And through my experiences, I know that I could really inspire other people that are on this awakening path for themselves, and maybe even other practitioners as well. So I would like to continue to support and do that. So, hey, thanks so much for showing up here. I appreciate you guys. I'm sending just a ton of love. If you choose to receive that, if you want to receive that and scoop in, it'll be like, hey, would you like another cup of coffee? I'll give you a cup of coffee. Let me send you some love, give you a hug. If you want that, you can take it. If not, just set it aside, push it aside. No big deal. So, all right. Thanks for being here. Hope I've inspired your spirit and filled you with hope today and encouraged you to live your life. This is your life. It's yours. You're responsible for it. You are. So live it. Just live it. Thanks for being here, you guys. See you tomorrow on Monday.